Okay, here's an overview of the electrical system on board the Shoreline survey boat. So first of all, here's the shore power inlet. That feeds into the galvanic isolator over here and then comes into this overcurrent and earth protection. And there's one for the sockets and one for the MultiPlus-II inverter / charger. On this port side, you also have the 3 batteries which make up the services bank. They're each 125 amp hours and can be isolated with this main isolator switch here. On the services side, there is also an isolator switch for this DC panel here. These bilge pumps and alarms are wired so that they're always on, so won't be affected by the isolator switches. The MultiPlus-II has its own separate little interface which tells you the charging status here and the inverter status here, and can be switched either off to charger only or inverter. Just make sure that this is always set to 16. This references the amps. The MultiPlus-II can be rated to 32 amps, but the system is wired for 16 amps. Putting it up further would trip the fuse here. So just to always make sure this is set to 16. There is a voltmeter for the services and the start side. In general terms, start is allocated to the starboard side, and the start battery is over here and can be isolated here. In general, when leaving the boat off, leave this to the off position, and this to the on position. The services side of things, the services batteries, sorry, these 3 batteries here are charged with a DC to DC charger, which is here. This charges 50 amps and has a 60 amp fuse here and here for the input and the output side. There is also an emergency battery which is here and is protected with this A&L fuse and is charged via the start battery via this DC to DC charger, which is rated at 18 amps. So in total the system can draw 78 amps. There are 2 twin alternators on this boat, 40 amps each. The emergency battery has an isolator here. Now, if you run out of power from the services side, you would isolate the services batteries using the isolator button here, and also turn the inverter off here. You would then switch the isolator on, and the DC switch panel will become live. Going behind the scenes, here's the MultiPlus-II charger. It can be connected via Bluetooth, as can all of the Victron devices. The MultiPlus-II has its own smart dongle and is protected via this A&L fuse here. These are the main bus bars, which are rated very highly with these thick cables because the inverter can draw a potentially high current. The DC switch panel is protected via this 100 amp fuse, and this feeds from this main bus bar here. We then arrive to these smaller bus bars here, which go on to feed various devices like the NEMA backbone, and also goes on to feed the DC switch panel, which is fed by these two bus bars here. There is also an always-on bus bar over here, which goes to feed these bilge pumps and bilge pumps alarms, and these have their own fuses here. There are various other fuses for devices, and these are labelled and use a standard twin blade fuse. Other devices not protected by these have their own protection through the DC switch panel.